Hello there, friends. My name is Dominic, and I am a senior communication major here to perform for you my presentation of my summer research project through ERSCA. A good companion is easy to find in the stars. Analysis of parasocial interaction in the outer worlds. So let's just go ahead and get started. Before we even begin this analysis, first we need to understand the artifact in question, which is the Outer Worlds. The Outer Worlds is an extremely popular video game that came out in 2019 and took the gaming world by storm, both with its popularity with critics as well as the general mass audience. The Outer Worlds is a role-playing game, which Lortz in 1979 gives us a working definition of any game which allows a number of players to assume the roles of imaginary characters and operate with some degree of freedom in an imaginary environment. Essentially, you get to play a role, and you get to play that role in an environment that reacts to the decisions that you make. Fine in 1983 furthers this that RPGs tend to hybrid with other genres, and Murray in 2017 points out that this works wonderfully with narratives because you can utilize any narrative in a game, and all you have to do is turn that narrative into a multi-form story. Basically, instead of going from page to page, you jump around in a choose-your-own-adventure novel because you get to make decisions through your character to interact with the game based on the role you're playing. And the Outer Worlds has all of these elements directly in the game and does them quite wonderfully, even from the start of the game with avatar customization, where you get to control not only the way the avatar physically looks, but also the way that the avatar interacts in the virtual world based on the role that you want to play in that gaming experience. Furthermore, the game provided a wonderful artifact, or was a wonderful artifact because it has multiple companions, all that are extremely different from one another. 6 in total that the player has complete freedom to choose between, whether or not they want to take them on as companions or which ones they want to travel with at any point in time throughout the game environment. Companions just being virtual characters that travel throughout the game with you. And in terms of the narrative of the Outer Worlds, it provides a neo-capitalist solar system where essentially you are a person, one of the first people that was actually shipped away from Earth towards another solar system. But you were forgotten about and left in cryostasis and only have recently woken up and realized that the solar system you're in has kind of gone to hell because a few select corporations have taken over to become the board and are driving the entire solar system to the point of extinction in order to make a profit. Now, I know this was a lot to digest about the artifact, but I promise it'll start making sense with more specific details of the analysis. But what exactly analysis are we performing? Well, we are utilizing the theory of parasocial phenomenon. Parasocial phenomenon was first coined in 1956 by Horton and Wall in an effort to describe the complex relationship that audiences have with television performers, primarily that of newscasters. Since then, the theory has been expanded immensely to almost every media format, and parasocial interaction has really came into two major camps of parasocial phenomenon: parasocial identification and parasocial relationships. First, parasocial identification is the process where you parasocially see yourself through the eyes of a character in the environment. Cohen in 2001 describes this as interpreting the text from the inside. Basically, if we're going with Horton and Wall and using television, you see a character on the screen and you identify so closely with them, you see the narrative and the television show through the character's eyes. You see yourself as one with that character. On the other side of the coin is parasocial relationships, where you maintain the psychological distance between you and the character in question. And instead of seeing yourself as one with the character, you see yourself as having a relationship with that character, where both of you know who each other are and you react to each other, even though you know it is fully one-sided because the character has no idea who you are. Parasocial relationships are extremely powerful because, as Chartel in 2017 furthers, these relationships can actually transfer beliefs because of the heightened rhetorical messages that can come from someone you view as a friend. And Lawyer in 2015 furthers that these relationships are particularly powerful in video games because of interactivity. It's literally coded in the game for these characters to react to you, which has major effects on the relationships that can come about. So, in short, parasocial identification, seeing yourself as the character; parasocial relationships, seeing yourself in a relationship with that character. So, what exactly did we do with this artifact and this theory? Well, we started with our methodology, in which I wanted to explore the ways in which parasocial interaction occurs in the outer worlds. So, parasocial framework is posited on two major tenets that work to develop any form of parasocial phenomenon. The first being personal. To develop a relationship with a character, the character needs to seem like a real person. And secondarily, reciprocal. The relationship that you develop needs to seem like it has a back and forth and that the audience has some say in the relationship. And while the reciprocal may make sense, personal was left a little vague in Horton and Wall's original description. So I went and utilized Sampat in 2017's who furthered parasocial framework with their work in empathy creation, where essentially they argued the best way to come across as personal in these types of relationships is to seem human by showing their hopes and their fears, the things that all humans can relate to in one way or the other. The game was played through twice fully, making the same decisions with the same character. Notes were taken, and I found patterns that were found in almost all of these companions and instances of parasocial phenomenon, which resulted in many different results, but I only have time to go over two major ones with you. The first is, what exactly do these parasocial relationships then look like in the game? And to explore this, we'll look through one specific companion, arguably the best companion in the entire game, and in my personal opinion, the best one in video games ever, through Parvati Hokum. Parvati Hokum is the first companion that you ever meet in the introductory quest line. Basically, you end up going to Edgewater, a town on the brink of starvation, and you meet Parvati while trying to talk to Reed Thompson, her boss, but Reed is too busy yelling at Parvati that she needs to do better at her job. Reed then gives you the first quest in the game, explaining that his town needs more power, and that you should turn off power on a group of deserters, people living away from society that should be looked down upon for their decisions, and instead send the power to Edgewater. And he furthers that he will give you Parvati to travel and show you around the city and help you in your quest to put the power towards Edgewater. Parvati agrees to come, and within literally 5 seconds of leaving his office, Parvati stops you and says, I know you probably don't really want me to come with you. You probably just said that not to seem rude in front of Reed. Immediately, she is already showing the personal aspect of parasocial phenomenon, in which she is showing both her fear that you won't actually want her or accept her, but also her hope that you will accept her and want her to come with you. Furthermore, she begins to show her reciprocality in your major decision of what to do about the power. You can do as Reed wanted and give the power over to Edgewater, or you can give it to the deserters instead. Parvati will react to whatever decision you make, and while she will end up staying with you regardless, she points out the decision that she would prefer of giving the power to Edgewater. But she's reciprocal in not only your action in this individual quest, but through every single interaction you have throughout the game. This is furthered by what I found as the double parasocial complex, where essentially these relationships are extremely heightened in the game and in the outer worlds because you are not just having relationships with Parvati or the other companions. It's because you're also having parasocial identification with your avatar. Essentially, because the avatar is a role that you have decided, it is extremely likely that you're going to identify with that character, with that avatar, see the game world through the avatar's eyes. So, through that identification process, you are then developing relationships through that avatar, having a double set of parasocial complex occurring, which only works to heighten the relationships and heighten almost every aspect of parasocial phenomenon that occurs in the game. And this is only Parvati. There are 5 other companions that have just as deep interactions as Parvati does. There's one other major finding that I wanted to talk to you about today, and that is of parasocial camaraderie. Parasocial phenomenon has only focused on parasocial identification and parasocial relationships, but parasocial relationships is always in an interpersonal context. It's you, the individual audience member, having a relationship with one single character, and never looks at what a team parasocial phenomenon would look like. So my paper added to this theory by coining parasocial camaraderie. And the game utilizes parasocial camaraderie by having companions simply talk to each other. Throughout the game, you can watch companions have conversations with each other and start to develop friendships. But this isn't just a one-off thing that occurs in the downtime. It's actually coded into integral parts of the game, such as in Parvati's main quest line, where she's trying to gain support from you over whether or not she should go after her love interest. The game actually stops you from being the first one to support her, and instead shows you another companion supporting Parvati first, showing the friendship that is blossoming not just between you and the companion, but between companions and other companions. This all puts the final nail in the coffin for this idea with the final ship meeting. When you are going to the final mission in the game, your companions stop you and ask for a final meeting, in which they ask whether or not we should really be doing this. After you tell them, yes, we are going to go do this final mission, they all rally around you for support with messages like, we're a team and we can do this all together. It changes parasocial phenomenon to not be individually based, but to be team-based. And this has yet to be explored in the 60 years that the theory has been around. And so parasocial camaraderie was born through this project. And so when it comes to future research, parasocial camaraderie needs to be explored more, not only in gaming contexts, but also outside the world of gaming in other media forms. I know that this presentation was a lot to digest, but this was a massive project and undertaking, and I didn't even talk about all the different findings I found. So if you have other questions, need further explanations, or just want to know what else my paper and research looked at, feel free to send me an email if you don't want to do the Q&A section that COS is putting on. And you can email me at dmeYERS@cord.edu. And I'd be happy to chat, answer any more of your questions, or anything that you might need. Thank you, and have a good COS.